Hello, BookTube. This is the Scholar Gentleman with my latest book report. Uh, this sort of like I discovered how to use the Internet Archive. I wanted to read Kurt Vonnegut Jr.'s Slaughterhouse 5, but I didn't feel like paying $9 for an ebook, and I just didn't feel like adding another book to my pile. So I checked out the Internet Archive, and it's really cool because you'll just type in what you want, and they'll show you several copies of what's available. I found 2 copies of the book, and you can borrow each one, at it for an hour at a time. So I had 2 copies there just in case one was being borrowed. So you have an hour to read your block of reading, and if you want to borrow it again at the end of the hour, you can. And most times it's no trouble. It's not like people are beating down the door for to read an older book like that. Although one time someone was, but that's okay. I used the Internet Archive to read the book, and it was everything I believed it would be. I saw the movie a long time ago, on VHS no less. It was originally made in the 70s. I came at it from a time travel perspective because, if anyone even remotely knows about the book, it's about little Billy Pilgrim, World War II vet. Well, not little, eventually, but Billy Pilgrim, World War II vet, who survived the Dresden bombing. Somewhere just before the Dresden bombing, he becomes unstuck in time, meaning he moves up and down his own personal timeline, and of course he'll wake up 20 years. He'll wake up like 20 years after the events in Dresden, and all of a sudden he'll remember that he has a life there and he's got kids, or he'll wake up a little earlier on and he's got a career in optometry, that kind of thing. So he moves from the war back in time to his own birth, up forward to his own death, and somewhere along, because he can do that, because he's the first human who can see time the way it's meant to be seen, meant to be perceived. The Trafladorians, this alien race, takes an interest in him, and they supposedly abduct him later in his life, and they put him in a zoo, and they study him. That's Kevin the pig, and they study him, and because he's the first human who's been able to look beyond time in a linear fashion. Because to humans, there's the past, there's the present, and the future. We experience it linearly as we go, minute by minute, day by day, week by week, month by month. But Billy Pilgrim basically started skipping around his own life. So the aliens abducted him and benevolently put him in a zoo so they could study him. And wow, look, the first human. They even gave him a stripper to mate with. But this is first and foremost an anti-war book, and because Kurt Vonnegut Jr. did indeed, in real life, survive the Dresden bombings, and when he came up from that abattoir, it's named Slaughterhouse 5, it looked like the lunar surface. Everything was blasted out. People were like trying to eke out a living in the ruins, bodies everywhere. It was basically a living hell. And this book was basically Vonnegut's attempt to exercise it. And the thing about a lot of I don't know if it's postmodern you'd call it, but Kurt Vonnegut's school of writing, I haven't read any of his other books, but his school of writing is very, very postmodern. You're not quite sure, 100% sure, that he's not completely crackers from his war experience. Because he ends up with post-traumatic stress disorder. He meets a writer of really, really schlocky, pulpy science fiction novels during his recovery. And so we don't know if this is a delusion fueled by that guy's writings that he extrapolated into his life, because towards the end, he's pretty much telling everyone that the Trafalgadorians basically kidnapped him and kept him for a while, and he's unstuck in his own time stream, and he's just zipping back and forth. Everyone's like, his wife, his kids, they just basically, think he's a nutcase, but he doesn't care. He's just gonna do what he does, and he already knows how he's gonna die. This psycho uh, soldier threatened him because, well, he's a psycho. He threatened him with for doing him wrong, and he was gonna kill him one day. One day you'll see. One day you won't see me coming. And apparently, we get the impression that that's how Billy Pilgrim lost his life. This guy finally caught up with him like 20, 30 years later to get his revenge. This guy was really hopped up on revenge. But like I said, I came at it from a time travel standpoint. Like Groundhog Day, the whole Billy Pilgrim being stuck in time has been used time and again in science fiction. Most notably for me being the final story of Star Trek The Next Generation, where Picard is zipping back in time up and down his own timeline in three different periods, thanks to Q, an omnipotent being who's taken an interest in him. But he has to solve a problem. He has to solve this problem himself, and it's cosmic in nature. And if he screws it up, all of mankind is doomed, type thing. Typical Q test. Also, to a lesser degree, maybe Quantum Leap, where Sam Beckett can leap around into other people's lives, but only within the course of his own lifetime. That got changed for the revival show. He could jump out of his own personal lifetime if he wanted to. I have 2 huge books detailing both of the show that just came in, so I'll have to read those soon, because that's what I have a time travel obsession. I have a time travel shelf in my room, top shelf. It's by no means comprehensive, but everything is there. Bunch of time travel anthologies, a couple of role-playing games. If it has to do with time travel, it's up on that top shelf. And behind my easy chair is a Back to the Future shrine. So yeah, time travel is kind of one of my little obsessions that I like to indulge in from time to time. And I'm glad I finally got a chance to do it with Slaughterhouse 5. But first and foremost, it's an anti-war book. And rightly so, because let's face it, everyone loses during a war. I'm reading the sequel right now to 5 Days of Infamy right now. And it's called 5 Days That Shocked the World by Nicholas Wake, I believe. And Kurt Vonnegut was just mentioned in it because he spent time in Dresden. So these 3 books are kind of like, dovetailing each other. 5 days, was it 7 Days of Infamy, Slaughterhouse 5, and 5 Days That Shocked the World. So it's kind of like a World War II sandwich in a way. But yeah, the book lived up to the hype. The movie does too, but you just kind of fully buy into the concept. I mean, he has no control over his travels, but all of a sudden he just wakes up, oh yeah, I'm married with kids now. All right. So anyway, use the Internet Archive if you want to do some free reading. They have a lot of stuff in there. Cost you nothing to make an account for yourself. So it might save you some money, and it'll also probably stop stacking the books up around you. You won't be tripping over stacks of books like I do. So, all right. Speak to you soon. All the best.